All right, welcome back to another episode of Nick's Morning Coffee Recap. And as you know, last night it was kind of like a blowout win over the Atlanta Hawks. This was definitely our best game of the playoffs. And then you got to shout out a whole lot of people on this team for the stuff they did. We came in laser focused on whatever the game plan was. That defensive intensity was even turned up another notch from the other night, if you could believe that was possible. And then the way that Cat came out and took us as if it was his team. He came out with a purpose, and he did superstar things. Now, what I like most is that everybody was involved, especially uh, Grand Theft Alvarado. The spark that he gave us off the bench was incredible. There's not really a whole lot need to be said about this game last night. This is the Knick team that everybody envisioned when we put this team together. Hard-nosed, gritty New York Knick basketball, and everybody showed up. And even if we got to jump ship to the fourth quarter, for the display that Brunson put on in front of a lot of the Knick legends is something you don't see anywhere. I mean, we've seen LeBron put on a show in LA for the Lakers greats. We've seen Wemby, do some things for the San Antonio, superstars of the past. But what we saw last night in that fourth quarter from Brunson, you don't see that every day in a basketball game. And even if I was kind of reluctant to start putting him up there with Shea and them guys, last night he showed he could, if he want to be, that's exactly where he could be. I mean, he took control of that game. The whole motion of the offense, the way he did it was incredible. And I got to shout Brunson out for that. He could have folded after the other night with everybody getting on him about having a little spat with his father, which is kind of childish because that's what grown men do. You get it out, you get over it, and you move on. But Brunson just said, okay, this is my time. And to see all the Knicks, Clyde Frazier, Patrick Ewing, Bernard King, Carmelo Anthony, J.R. Smith, Stephon Marbury, to see all of them sitting there, witnessing, cheering you on for real, not just for the camera. As a basketball fan, he did his thing. And we got to close this thing out tomorrow night and get ready for that Boston Philly series because either one is going to be a barn burner. The way Embiid came back and did what he was doing, let us know that for us to win, we're going to have to really earn it. And I think we up for the challenge. But I also got to credit Coach and his rotation assignments last night. It's like he picked and plucked at the right time. He just kind of knew. And it's just interesting what everybody's talking about, how after a couple of games ago, he kept Brunson and Cat on the game. One of them was in at all times. And if that's what you have to do in the playoffs, then that's what you have to do. We have a better bench than we had in the past. But if you need the star out there to keep everybody going and keep them in their roles, then you do that. And it doesn't hurt that, we got people like Clarkston and people like Alvarado and people who can take over a game in short spurts if they need be. Now, I would kind of like to see a little bit of Shamit in the midst of a game like that, but outside shooting was pretty good last night, so it really wasn't needed. But I don't want us to fall too far from the wayside of keeping Shamit in there because one thing we talked about going into the playoffs, we have a lot of guards, and you can't play everybody. And at some point, every guard is going to help you in this series and in these playoffs. So right now, it just isn't Shamit's time because of what Deuce is starting to do and what Alvarado is starting to do off the bench. We know what Josh Hart and Mikal Bridges is going to give us as guards, but it all like blooming into place, and we haven't had that. So at some point, Shamit's outside shooting is going to be needed, and he's going to have to get the bulk of some of those minutes. But as for right now, the Knicks show that they belong and raised any doubt to me that we in trouble in this series. Now, again, we have to come out and play. We can't take nothing for granted. We got to come out and we got to attack their defense. Their superstars didn't kill us last night. They're going to get some of theirs because that's just what it is. CJ didn't have a CJ game, but Alexander did. So some of them are going to get theirs. But as long as we're containing them and doing what we got to do, then we don't have a problem. And we have to shout out the coach for that because just a few days ago, it was fire the coach, get rid of everybody on the team except Brunson. Well, now everybody knows everybody's needed, everybody to play their role. Even when OG in the first half didn't have his stellar offensive game, he still had a stellar all-around game. Defense, blocking shots, getting in the passing lane, filling the lane, things like that. So everybody got to play a role for this team to win. I'm loving it. I couldn't find not one fault last night in that game and wasn't looking for it because I seen after the last game before that, the way we played, we just keep amping this thing up. There's no telling how far we can go. And that's what the Knicks is. You know, we a team that's on a journey, and that journey is going to come by the end of June with a celebration. So let's go Knicks. Peace.